Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on The Game Plan. I've barely recovered from the last 10 laps of Silverstone GP. Have you guys recovered?
Amazing racing yesterday, and of course, the British Grand Prix is always a fun thing to
Let me tell you, Carol, this is the first time we have not been in the driver's seat and we're sweaty.
I was on edge, but we're going to talk more about Formula One in the second half. Today we're going to have a very interesting discussion. Last week we had so much drama around Kenyan sport, especially our national teams going on international duty. We had the Kenya Simbas begging for money, releasing pay bills, eventually got some support from Haldana Lodge, I believe it was, who gave them 10 million shillings, so they were able to go for the World Cup qualifiers. Then we had the Kenya Morans. We hosted their Secretary General here last week. Theirs was now another level of drama. They were to travel on Thursday, then they traveled on Friday, then they ended up traveling on Saturday, missed Friday's game. It was just so much drama. But today we want to speak to Ngarua Kamuya. Now, Ngarua is the CEO of 270 Sports Marketing. He's also a sports lawyer. He's a sports fan. He has a rugby podcast. He's just a sport fanatic, a fan, and somebody who wants to change the game. Ngarua, how are you doing this today?
I'm very well, thanks, Carol. How are you doing? Good to see Roy and Jenny also.
Are you sure it's good to see them? Don't lie.
Okay, that's your TV. That's your TV accent you're using right now, right?
TV accent.
Ngarua, you heard my introduction all about Kenya Simbas, about Kenya Morans. 2 weeks prior to that, we had the women's volleyball team almost not going for their camp because they're going for the World Championship later this year. But personally, I want to get a little bit away from complaining about the government, because we've done that. They make promises they never deliver on.
Right.
And we expect that. Sadly, we expect that.
Promises they postpone.
What is your reaction to all that has been going on, and what can we do as sports teams, both nationally and at club level, so that we're not always relying on a government that's not going to come through for us?
First, I think it's unfortunate that in 2022 we are still waiting for government to deliver in terms of budgets.
Yeah.
It goes down to the crux of what always happens in Kenya. It's a Serikali idea mentality that government has to come and plug in. And the biggest problem, I think, in this whole thing is, granted, corporate organizations do have a place to play in terms of them not thinking that sports marketing is a way to advertise. But also, I think the biggest problem is the administrators of sport in this country. In my interactions, I can comfortably say that there's only one federation, or maybe two, that think of sports from a commercial and business standpoint. And that's golf and recently motorsport.
Right.
Rugby had that a while back, but we know what happened. And I'm praying that problem doesn't happen in golf and motorsport, in that money comes in, and because of the people that you're dealing with and the caliber of officials that delegates and teams and clubs are electing to be part of their federations, then we start seeing what happened in Kenya Rugby. So I hope that that's not going to happen in KMSF and golf. But I think it's good, because then clubs need to realize and be cognizant of the guys that they're electing as officials. Yes. Are you electing guys who are business-minded? Are you electing just guys who are using it as a pedestal to go to politics?
Yeah.
Are you just electing guys who think that there's money in sports and that's why they want to
go and make money?
And they want to make money? Or are you electing guys who actually have sports at the crux of it? So it's punishment also for these clubs, because I mean, Kenya Simbas, for you to be begging for 10 million shillings 10 years ago. Yes. 10 years ago, I think President Kibaki hosted a luncheon for all federations, and he was telling all federations to copy Kenya Rugby Union, because they never used to go to the government for money.
Yeah.
Now that has changed. The first guy is going to the government for money. So I think the administrators have a very big problem. I would say that in the Kenya Rugby Union, there are some guys who think about it from a business standpoint, from a commercial standpoint, and there are folks who are still backward. So the biggest, to me, the biggest issue is just the administrators of sport in this country. That, like you're saying, 2 weeks to the tournament or to a qualifier, you'd be begging for money, and pay bills, and the fact that, you see, the game, and Roy, you know this very well in marketing. You know, Coca-Cola probably won't sell any more sodas if they don't market. Yet they are one of the companies with the biggest
still
market
consistently marketing.
Exactly. Same thing with Safaricom. Safaricom will probably not sell anything more than they're doing right now, but they still have one of the biggest budgets in the country from a marketing standpoint. So for the administrators of sport, it's for you to make your asset valuable enough for these companies to be partnering with you. And one of the things I've seen changing in the world, and actually the blue chip companies in Kenya are taking to it, is consumer insights. It's building of customer relationship management systems. How do you know, does Kenya Rugby Union know their fan base? Do they know the people who come to watch their games? Do you know the demographics? And one thing, like a best example I want to say is like Real Madrid and Barcelona. 10 years ago, Real Madrid hired about 40 guys from Microsoft to develop their customer relationship systems. And that's why for Madrid, it's very easy for them to go for sponsors, because it's very easy for them to say, we have a database and we have 500.
They control the target.
Yes. So,
exactly.
So the evidence is there.
Barcelona, the evidence is there. Now, Barcelona, you guys are aware about the deal we just signed with Spotify last year. Barcelona didn't have a customer relationship management system. So instead of getting $600 million, they got $300 million. And that's where our federations need to be going. We need to be building data so that it's easy for me to approach. Exactly. Then you sell it and you tell. So you're good. Sorry. So go ahead, Carol.
Just to come in here, you know me, as much as I want these federations to be independent and absolve the government, I'll never let the government go. in this particular case, the government did send a letter to federations in March and say, we will fund flights and allowances for anyone going for World Cup qualifiers and for the Commonwealth teams. And both the Rugby Union and the Basketball Federation wrote in and said, these are our budgets. Now, so unfortunately, the letter that then came and said, we cannot fund you, was a week to go. That's why you saw this fundraising happening last minute. But that said, we have experienced as federations that this government will let us down. So rightfully so, you are saying we shouldn't even have to need them. We shouldn't have to need the government. If the government support comes well and good, if it doesn't, we have a brand that we can sell. What my issues with the government is creating an environment that makes sport attractive as well for corporates. You see what's happening in football right now. If I'm a corporate sitting there looking at these caretaker committee transition after transition, I'm not going to touch football because it just looks so So I think both have a responsibility. Both have a responsibility. Government has a responsibility for the facilities, on a national scale, and if they promise the flights and allowances.
Realistically,
you can't back out last minute. And sure enough, if they come back and they qualify for the World Cup, the government will be front and center.
Do we honestly believe, as Carol has insisted, the government has a role to play? Ama, we can keep forgiving them because that's our hobby.
Government's role for me is policy and legislation, and then the basic infrastructure. You see, like what was done at Jamhuri, if they can do multiple of such complexes all over the county or the country, so that people have access to the playing environment, for lack of a better word, that's what I believe government's work is. And then on the larger scale, it's policy and legislation. Now, about the CS and the exemption to sponsor. Section 15(1)(z) of the Income Tax Act. I mean, that came into play in 2016. 2016.
It was only activated.
That law was passed. Exactly. So some corporates have been benefiting off it. And you see, government's work is to make it easy for those corporates to claim that money. That's allowable deductions. I think that's where they're failing. But like Roy is saying, like Carol has said, we know what's going to happen when it comes to government.
So be ready.
So why wait for them?
No, from a
so why wait for them?
From a marketing perspective, because I mean, sports is about entertainment. We need to start looking at sports as an entertainment and industry. What would you say the government's role would be in enhancing marketing? Leave alone the, we're talking about these exemptions you get on your sponsorships, and you get a rebate on tax. What else do you think they can be able to do?
Yes.
Is that government or that's clubs and federations?
No, government has a role.
I mean, it's a mixture of both. You see,
Yeah.
if you look at the attention that golf and rally has gotten in this particular administration, it has brought the vibe. I mean, you guys are doing the Safaricom Golf Tour.
Right.
Even if you go for Kenya Open, 90% of those guys don't know what a club is.
Not a club, a club.
A golf club.
Oh, a golf club.
A stick, a golf stick.
Oh, Kenny was smiling. You said the wrong club.
Not a nightclub.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's a nightclub.
Yeah.
A golf
They
club.
don't know what an iron or a wood.
Or a
is, you
wood,
know.
yeah.
But they know what a nightclub is.
Yes, they know what a nightclub is.
Yeah, yeah.
But they still go. I mean, when Kenya Open is there, they're waiting for it.
Right.
Same thing. This
rally.
past weekend or this past week, the rally. I mean, you go down to Naivasha, 90% of the guys were there for fun. No one even knows what WRC cars are.
Exactly.
Or what WRC.
They don't know what they're creating a hybrid engine. They're creating no idea.
Engine, yes.
Even a
They
low
have
bridge.
no idea.
Even low bridge engine.
Low bridge sequential gearbox. They don't know what that
Nothing.
is. They just know. They just know. You go to Moi South Lake, and that whole place has transformed just because of the rally.
Exactly.
And it's because of the amount of people who are going to be there. So I think it's more of the sports work as opposed to the government's work,
Yeah.
although there's a collaboration, because then you need government to give you, to me, Kenny, to answer your question, I think what they've done in terms of that legislation, we haven't even milked 10% of it.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
they need to sell it out there so that even
Yeah.
I, with my small MSME or SME, I know if I sponsor a team in Kariobangi, I can go and claim some
Whatever
sort of
is tax.
rebate. Exactly. Because you know
Yes.
everybody
And-
keeps
and-
thinking it's this big sponsorship.
But that's what I'm saying. It's the
Yes.
clubs and the federations. In terms of marketing, clubs and federations, because they also have to brand themselves. They have to make themselves look attractive. When they approach a corporate, they have to tell that corporate,
Yeah.
I know for a fact the government will give you this rebate. You know, and then they need
But
to
let-
make their games
as-
exciting,
but
like the
as
rally. Let
Gary was
people.
said that what the government needs to do is to favor sport. Just favor us,
The
give us a
government needs
little
to
bit
stop
less.
interfering and getting us banned.
Yeah.
Give
Yeah,
the
you
infrastructure.
Brilliant.
You
Because they don't have
know,
the
Carol, what you said
perception.
about going to corporates is very shocking, because like 3 years ago, I was part of a team of a local rugby club, and we were going to pitch, and that was one of our things that we were pitching, allowable deductions. Despite it not being brought into effect, it was still in play. It was going to be complicated because you have to write to the Minister of Sports or the CS of Sports,
Yeah.
and then they write to Treasury seeking the exemption. It was going to be a long process, but it was still in play. And many of those corporates told us, we don't really care about that. Like they don't
Oh,
they
you
don't
see
have time
that?
for it.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
So they have money.
So-
they have just not been releasing
Yes.
They don't want to give it out.
it. They
Their
don't want to give
money-
it out.
They don't want to give it out. In fact, there's one of them I asked, I mean, what's your legal team doing if they haven't shown you these loopholes?
Yeah.
You know, so a lot, and you guys know, a lot of the leadership in these corporate organizations could care less about sports.
Yeah.
Very sad. eh?
And
It's very sad, by
And-
the way.
yeah, it's very sad. They could care less about sports. They don't look at it from a business standpoint. They don't look at it from an employment standpoint. I mean, guys, one team for the rally is bringing like 400 guys.
Thank you.
Just one
Yes.
team.
Yeah.
You have 3 teams. That's 1,200 guys. Are you looking at the big picture from an economic standpoint?
Right.
I mean, hotels all the way from Naivasha to Nakuru are booked. The expected revenue generation of the investment for the rally for Nakuru County, they were targeting about 6 billion, and I think they're going to surpass it.
Yeah, they're gonna pass it. Yeah.
Garua, we're out of
the-
time. We're out of
yes.
time, but just to
Yes.
sum up, you as CEO of 270 Sports Marketing, what are you doing to change the game and try and make that 30 seconds.
36 seconds.
We're actually out of time.
So it's all about convincing the administrators that this thing can be a business, convincing them that it can be an employment opportunity for the players. It can be entertainment for the fans, because at the crux of any sport is number one, the players, and number two, the fans. So you have to make it worthwhile for the fans, and you have to make it worthwhile for the player. He has to be willing to sacrifice to come and play every week. So it's just about getting the revenues in and creating an ecosystem that is good for everyone who's involved in sports.
Garua Kamuya, thank you so much, CEO of 270 Sports Marketing. Thank you for your insight, and I hope this is going to go at least some way in getting our national teams to also stop begging and to be ready for disappointment from the government. Sadly. I know you're a huge rugby fan as well, and yeah, go Kenya Simbas, doing us proud.
Yes.
But I wish you well, and we're going to take a short break now, and after the break, we're going to come back. We're still going to talk about rugby in terms of Dallas Sevens, Kenya Morans, give you an update, and then, of course, Formula One. See you after the break.